In this lesson, I will tell you about making final adjustments to the drawing and creating renderings. So here we have this interior scene, and in this interior scene we have already created a rendering with the low quality preset. So now I'll once again create the rendering, but this time with different presets. So let's first start with the low quality preset. For that, here make sure this low is selected, and also from this views make sure that this interior view is selected. So now here we are in this interior view. I'll directly click on this render to size button, and this rendering window will open up, which will create a normal rendering of this scene. Now, since we have selected a low preset, this will take very little time to complete this rendering, and as you can see that this rendering is taking very little time and it took nearly 10 seconds to complete, but the quality is not very impressive. Now let's say that we want to save this rendering as an image file. For that, click on the save icon, specify the location and give it a name. So I'll name it as 1. Now you have got here different formats like bitmap, TGA, TIF, JPEG and PNG. So you can select any of these formats for saving this image. So right now I'm selecting this TIF format for saving this. Click on save, and here apply the color. So I'm choosing 32-bit. Click on OK. So now this rendering has been saved on desktop in TIF format. So let's now close it, and once again I'll create this rendering, but this time I'll make some changes to the drawing. So before doing that, let's look at the rendering which we created. So here on desktop you can see that we have this rendering with name 1. So right now the brightness of light is not up to the mark, and also we have got these sketchy patches all over the drawing. So we'll try to remove these two problems in the next rendering. So I'll close it, and once again I'll go to the drawing, and now I'll select the lights first. So I'll increase the intensity of all of these lights. So select any one of these point lights, and then right click and select this select similar option from the contextual menu. So this will select all the lights, especially the point lights of the drawing. Now we have all these lights selected. Now we can go to the property panel. So right click and select properties. So this will open this property palette, and from this property palette you'll see that we have got multiple options, like here we have this general panel, and here we have this intensity. Also in this lamp intensity we have this 1500 units, so we can change these values. So let's click on this 1500 and change it to 3000 and press enter. So now you can directly see the change here. The brightness has increased, and we'll again create a new rendering with these settings. So I'll go to this drop down, and now I'll change my quality preset to medium. So using this quality preset we can create a rendering with higher quality, but it will take more time. So if you change this quality to high, it will take even more time. Here we have some predefined presets like coffee break quality that will render for 10 minutes. Also the lunch quality that will render for 60 minutes, and overnight quality which will render for 12 hours. But in these cases the quality will be very high. So I'll select medium for this case, and now click on render to size. And here the rendering is started, and you can see here on this bar that the rendering will take some time to complete because we have selected a higher quality preset. So I'll pause the screen and I'll get back when this rendering is done. Okay, so here we have this final rendering, and as you can see that it took nearly 5 minutes and 17 seconds for this rendering to complete. So obviously it took more time than the low preset, but the results are better than the previous preset. You can also see that the intensity of light is increased in this case, and if you want to compare it with the previous image or the previous rendering, then click on this small arrow and it will show you all the rendering history. So click on this one and you can see the image. So you can clearly see the difference between this rendering and this one. We have huge difference between the two. Now if you want even more enhanced or a quality rendering, then you can select even better preset. For that you can just close it and select high preset, but this will again take more time than normal. So I'll not select this high preset for now, and now I'll move to the exterior view to create the rendering from the exterior view. For that I'll first change my visual style from realistic to conceptual. Now changing the visual style will allow me to work faster in this software, and now I'll change my view to exterior, and here we have this exterior view. Now we can again create the renderings in this exterior view, but before doing that I'll change these settings. So I'll turn on the shadows, and also from render environment and exposure I'll turn on the environment, and also I'll turn on this plaza. And we have the background. Let's close it, and now with this medium preset let's click on render to size. and once again the rendering will start and it will take longer than the time taken by the usual low preset rendering. So let's wait for a moment and I'll get back when this rendering is done. And here we have this final rendering and with high quality. So once again we can see the history of rendering. So for that, click here and now you can select this rendering, and here is the rendering which we created now. So as you can recall that I have not saved this rendering. So now if you want to save this rendering, then right click and select save copy. Specify the location, give it a name, and now you can save it. So even if you forget to save any renderings, then you can go to the rendering history and again you can save those renderings. So this time I'll select this JPEG format and I'll save it again. And let's click on OK. And in a similar way, select this third rendering and click on this save icon. And let's now save it as number 3. And I'll select this PNG format and click on save, click on OK. Now let's close it and close this render window as well. So in this way we can fine tune the adjustments of the rendering, and we can change the presets, we can change the intensity of lights, and we can create the final rendering, and we can save them in different qualities according to our requirement. So this was all about creating final renderings and saving them. In the next lesson I'll tell you about creating an animated walkthrough video in AutoCAD 3D.